I'm going to show you how to color correct. This shot that I've selected is actually only about 20 frames long, and as I move through it, you can see the miscolored, sort of greenish, yellowish spots. There's one there, but here's one that lasts about 3 frames right there. And yeah, there's scratches as well, for sure. In fact, again, it's the tape that is causing the miscolored portions to hold together that big scratch that covers 3 frames. We're going to fix all of the color issues here, but I'm going to leave the other stuff for now. There's some there too. So what we want to do is color correct the footage. Now, here's the layer we're working on. I'm going to duplicate it, lock the original. So here's the layer, and we could color correct this footage, but most of it doesn't need any color correction. It's just a few frames, including these here. So we want to be able to isolate just those. I have found that the easiest way for me to do that is to create an adjustment layer. So go up to Layer, New, Adjustment Layer, and that adds a layer that is invisible until you add different effect properties to it, which then will affect the layers that are below it, like this one. But it won't affect layers that are above it, if any should be above it, like that. And so that's perfect too. It allows for flexibility there. So let's look at this. Let me show you what the adjustment layer can do real quick. Just diving in. Here's the nice messed up color. Make sure it's highlighted, the adjustment layer itself, and then go up to Effects and then Color Correction. And look at all these color correction options. There's a few that I use that are my favorites. In this case, I want to use Levels Individual Controls, and I'll show you how that works. Just Levels right here, that allows you to affect the highlights, the midtones, and the blacks separately from each other, which definitely comes in handy. Hue and saturation, obviously allows you to change the hue, and then the saturation allows you to turn down the saturation, which sometimes is absolutely essential when doing color correction, because maybe there's too much color or too little color. But for this one, I'm just going to do Levels Individual Controls. And what it does is it allows you to individually affect the 3 primary colors in light, which is blue, green, and red, as opposed to blue, yellow, and red in with paint and solids and stuff like that. It allows you to affect each primary color separately, but this also allows you to affect the blacks and the whites and the midtones, and that's what gamma is, midtones, in each color as well. So that's lots of flexibility. And let me just show you real quick. Here's greens in the midtones. I'm going to turn those up and turn it down. All right, just an exaggeration to show you what we can do. So how on earth do we color correct to the exact color that we want if we can only see, this is the proper color we want, right? If we move to the left a couple frames, but then if we look at this frame, it's not what we want. But how do we get it to here? We have to be able to look at what we want to bring that color to. So in order to do that, I have come up with a little procedure where I highlight the original layer, I duplicate it, and then I bring it on top so it becomes unaffected. And then I just drag it a little bit to the left, like this, and then make sure it's highlighted, and then get the masking tool, and then just kind of cut it in half, really, any which way you want. And now you can see on the left is what we want the footage on the right to look like. It's just an overlay. See, just an overlay so I can kind of compare it. I can look at the sand, I can look at the guy's skin tone, and other things that will allow us to bring it to where we want to go. All right, so with that, let's start color correcting. Okay, so this is a lot of trial and error. You have to kind of play around with it a lot and see what happens and what things affect are affected by what. So let's just focus on what do we see is the color that's in abundance on the right. That's too much. I see it's a little greenish. It's a little warm. This on the left is a little bit bluer, a little cooler down. Look at the lights up here, the lighter colors. And look at the blacks. You know, what are the blacks looking like? For example, if the blacks are extra blue, like that, you can tell the whites make those extra blue, and you can see that how that's affected as well. Just play around with it a lot. But in this case, I'm thinking maybe let's just start by doing the midtones. And when you do that, you can already see it's actually bringing it really close to where it should be just by bringing the blue midtones up. If you bring them down, it enhances the color the way we don't want it to go. So let's do that real quick. Okay, let's do something like that. And then maybe the lights up here don't quite match that. That's a little bluer. This is maybe a little less blue, I'm thinking. So if I go to the blue, input white, and then make that a little extra blue, but not too much. Sometimes just a tiniest bit. There's too little, too much. How about something like that? Pretty close. And that's great. You look at his skin as well, right here. Highlight that so you can move it around a bit and just kind of compare them. Maybe there's a little bit, maybe it's a little warmer here, but perhaps it's good enough. So we actually don't need this layer. Once we get the color correction right, we can delete that layer. We don't need that reference layer anymore. So now we've got that one color corrected, but as you scrub to the left again, now the other stuff's even bluer, right? We don't want to do that. We just want to affect the actual miscolored portions. So highlight the adjustment layer, and then we just want to mask it out. First of all, this entire frame is miscolored, so we're going to include the entire frame. Now watch this. This is where we're going to actually animate the mask, because when you go to the next shot, it only needs to be colored from about here and down, but above here, it's fine. And then if you go to the end right here, from about here down, it's fine. And there's a little halfway segment here, and then there's another miscolored up here. So we don't want to affect all the layers, and certainly not any past there or there. So here's this one. We like this one. We like the way it's masked because the whole thing's masked. So open up your adjustment layer, open up the options, and then within the mask, there's mask 1 because there's only one mask that we've affected. Mask path will change that. Mask feather, you know, changes the softness around the edge. So we want to change the mask path. Here's the keyframe right there. Set it. You click on that, puts a little indicator there, and there's an indicator right there. So now when we move over, we can reset a new keyframe or a mask path shape. But for now, it just keeps it the way it is. So right now, yeah, we want to affect it again from here down. So we want to select these two top ones, just the two top ones. Select them both like that and then bring them down. And by moving them, once you've created the first keyframe that we did, and then once you move your cursor, your vertical red line, then when you move or change the properties at all, it automatically sets a new keyframe. Or you can move one and then set a keyframe by pushing this here. Then once it's blue, then it's keyframe set. That doesn't mean that the keyframes are different from this one to this one, which they're not, but you can set a keyframe in advance. Or you can make the change of the property, which automatically sets the keyframe. You'll need to know how to do both at some point or another. So there's that. See how the orange line, the orange mask line animates from this frame to that frame? That's all we want to affect. You know, you can be a little more perfectionistic as well if you wanted to just move that right up there and that right down there. Okay, now we want to animate this one here. But now it's the bottom because the tape is out. You can either do that there, or you can do that there. I'm going to start with this one right here. So that's pretty darn effective. So now we want to actually remove it entirely from here because see how it's causing the bluish to occur? So we can either just completely bring in the layer so it doesn't exist anymore, or we can do something different where we just entirely remove the entire thing out of the way and just leave it out of the way. We're going to do a little of both because the first one also we want to color correct that one, the very first frame in the entire shot. So for this one, let's just move it out of the way entirely, and it'll remain moved out of the way until we want to fix just the top, couple inches up here. So now let's go to the one right before that, and we'll set the keyframe again, doing nothing because we want it to remain out of the way down here. And then let's move one more to the left. Now we want to affect just the top couple inches like that. And it's not perfect. I could perfect it by just color correcting this portion. And you can, everything's keyframe based in After Effects. So you could go into effects right here and see how it levels individual controls. Yep, there's the effect, or the effects appear up here. And you can actually animate the color correction levels as well within the adjustment layer by using keyframes. Red, green, blue. You can affect that just like before. I'm not going to show you that. That's too much in depth. You're just going to have to figure some of this stuff out yourself, or go online and look up other YouTube tutorials or something. So there's that. Okay, now we want to move that out of the way again, right here. So now it's gone. All right. But then we want to bring it back one more time for the last frame. See that? So the frame right before, keep that keyframe there. If we don't do that keyframe, let me undo it. If we don't do that keyframe and we just move this right where we want it, right here, then it will do the in-betweeners here. And we don't want that in-betweener. See that, how it's moving in between? No, we want this one to copy and paste right there. We want it to be out of the way until right there. So I'm going to play this for you. And remember, all the dust and scratches and gouges and tears are still going to be there. But the miscoloration is not there anymore, or at least it's mostly gone. Now we can start to clean up the scratches and everything else, but one thing at a time. Let me show you what it looks like without having done anything. All I have to do is go to the adjustment layer here, hide it, the eyeball, make it gone. All right, now I'm going to play it and check it out. So there's the yellowy, chicken flavored ramen noodle filter over the lens, and then here it is with the color correct fix.